Music is and can be art. Music can be an art form. Or is an art form and can be art. We'll say that. Most music produced today is not art. People are going to hate me for this. A lot of classical music is also not art.
Say more about that.
Here's why. Which, by the way, classical is also a genre. There is modern classical music that is really just orchestral.
Mm-hmm.
But there is modern classical music that is billed as being modern classical music that I would not say is art. Again, because it is about the composer. Did you know that there is an abstract music?
Not surprising. I don't know that I've heard of that
Abstractionism
genre
is
specifically, but
There's abstractionism in music too, which is done specifically. It does what to your ears what looking at Picasso for extended periods of time does to your eyes. It
okay.
messes with your head, and it is just wrong and vile and twisted. Because the entire point is, and it's like this with other art forms too, the entire point is, I am challenging the conventions.
Okay.
Okay, the convention is Chesterton's fence. Maybe think about why it's there in the first place before you just tear it down or before you just go and do something else entirely of your own accord without adhering to it. There is even some classical music, some old classical music, that I would not say is art. Because in the period of classical music, which is early Enlightenment, the Enlightenment period is when the intellectuals started being more about themselves and thinking of their own ideas and thinking that everybody before them was stupid and doing everything wrong. And this kind of shines through in a lot of music. And you have to think about it. Do we like Mozart because his music is good? Or do we like Mozart because he is Mozart? The reason that Mozart is popular to the pretentious people, and also the reason that I don't particularly care for Mozart, is because it's all about Mozart. It's all about him challenging the conventions of the time and parodying everybody else's stuff. Challenging conventions and doing his own thing and standing up to the oppressor and standing up to the old guard. But is it good? I mean, it's all right. But if I have a choice between listening to Mozart or listening to Beethoven, I'm going to take Beethoven.
Okay.
And if given the choice among any of them, I'm going to pick either Tchaikovsky or Vivaldi. Vivaldi is kind of a personal preference because he worked primarily with strings, and I just think that strings are the best forms of instruments ever as a personal preference. But when Beethoven wrote the Ode to Joy, which is why the Ode to Joy is a masterpiece, is what is that, the Fifth Symphony? He wrote that symphony when he was basically deaf, and he wrote "Joyful, joyful, we adore thee, God of glory, Lord of love. Hearts
Mm-hmm.
unfold like flowers before the opening to the sun above." It is about the music. When Mozart writes something, it's about Mozart.
Is it though?
Yes, because when you stand up and you say, "I'm challenging the conventions about of the time," you are thinking first of yourself. Well, this is the way we do it. Well, I don't want to do it that way. I don't want to me.
I don't know if I buy that because tradition is fundamentally organic. So sometimes it is good to not say like, oh, it's not good to say, okay, the old conventions are just outright terrible because they're old, they've been around for a while, so thus I'm going to make something new. But I think you can say that they are good and say, okay, but I see more potential for this instrument, for these instruments here. And
It
I
isn't
can make
that.
something new and cool that is good, as you yourself said it was,
I
and
said it's
true,
all right. I didn't say it was good.
which all right just
There's a
means less
difference.
good. All right just means less good.
Again, he's thinking about what he wants to do and stroking his ego and writing the music
Well, that would not be good.
and in composing the music, which is not good. Because good also has to be the purpose for which the thing is made. Nothing in Mozart actually takes you outside of yourself. I have never heard a Mozart piece that took me outside of myself. Beethoven and Vivaldi, I am constantly taken outside of myself.
And that is a very interesting point. Like, I see where you're coming from with that. Yeah.
Because remember, art, again, also doesn't just have to be true, good, or beautiful. It also has to take you outside of yourself and has to be about the subject. There's a list of requirements. We can't just say that everything true, good, and beautiful is necessarily art. And we especially can't say that anything true, good, and or beautiful is necessarily art, because at that point, everything is art. Because anything is by nature, at least in part, one of those things. Or has a little bit of one of those things in it. At least 99.9% of things. But not everything is art. Except as it is as a part of the whole of creation, which is a grand artwork done by the grand artist who is God. But taking everything just as it is on the same plane and level as ourselves, not everything is art.
So I guess I would say that anything good, true, or beautiful, not or wrong operator. Anything good, true, and beautiful is art. Is what I would say, because because anything that meets those criteria ultimately, regardless of presentation or form, um, and we've qualified it already as good, true, and beautiful, whatever this is, ultimately harkens back to God. And I would say that that is art. I would say that something that has some good in it, but does not meet all those criteria, is not art. So I can't look at a normal Taylor Swift song. I can't think of any Taylor Swift song necessarily that would. Anyway, take a normal Taylor Swift song. I can't look at that and say like, oh, well, there is the spirit of the longing of the heart of a young woman in there, and there's something good about that. And it's like, okay, you have a point, but you don't at the same time. That's not art. So you can't go down all of the rabbit holes with that and try and turn literally everything into art.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I would say that if it's good, true, and beautiful, it's art. And I think that there's
you have a point.
One of the most joyful people to ever walk this world, at least I hope he was joyful, because he sure acted like it, was Chesterton. Why? Because his attitude towards the world was a kid in a candy store. It was one of awe and wonder, and like seeing the good in everything, the beauty in everything, the art in everything that we all overlook.
That is true.
So there's a quote from a German 18th century poet called Novalis that I read while prepping for this, that I think kind of gets at this to a point, to an extent. The world must be made romantic. Then once more we shall discover its original meaning. To make something romantic, the lower self becomes identified with the higher self. Insofar as I render a higher meaning to what is ordinary, a mysterious appearance for what is customary, an infinite look to the finite, I am romanticizing. Which doesn't mean that art is always romantic or anything like that, but I think
not romantic in the sense of how most people think, anyway.
Yeah, but in the sense of making the ordinary extraordinary, in the sense of seeing the inherent goodness in all of these things, the inherent beauty in so many things. Like if I look around my room, I'm surrounded by it. If I look around the world, I'm surrounded by it. And if I dare to look at myself, I have no right except to say that, well, that fits me too, no matter how broken or a mess I am. I think that's a healthier attitude towards life and to art than many others.
Yeah. Again, I tend to charge headfirst into things and make the most broad statement possible as an absolute statement. But you do have a point. I think that art must be something which is true, good, and beautiful. I put the caveat that it should also be made by human hands. Because you put a paintbrush in the hands of a chimpanzee, he's not creating art. Yeah, I would say, because if it's ultimately about the artist and not about the art itself, then or the subject, then I would say that it's not good, which makes it no longer art. And that's not to say that the artist should never say, "Oh, I did it this way because of how I wanted to do it." Or because of how I thought, if he is asked. But if it is ultimately prefaced with some long and pretentious explanation of the art, then you haven't completely missed the point of what art is to begin with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this life and this world is not about you. And so, yeah, if you make something entirely about yourself, like we don't got time for that.
Yeah.
And it ain't art.